month's Mastertech news is loaded with information that you'll find useful, along with some interesting articles. April's issue includes a look at child restraint tether anchors, the subject of this month's trailer, a listing of technical training sessions that highlight courses available for enrollment, and an announcement for the 1999 Gold Tool Award. In addition, you'll find Part 2 of the Daimler Chrysler Department of the Month, information about the Cummins diesel service tool set, and the MDS2 DRB3 service and diagnostic software release list, including TSBs and recalls, CD52 and 53. Be sure to catch all this in the Tech News.
It's diesel time again on Mastertech. Time to take a look at what's new with the Cummins 24-valve turbo diesel engines. Available in Dodge Ram 2500 and 3500 series pickups. This program is aimed at all service technicians, especially those of you who specialize in diesel engine diagnosis and service. First, we'll get updated on the 24-valve engines that are currently in service and how to identify them, including the new 245 horsepower high-output turbo diesel for model year 2001. We'll look at the new features of the HO power plant and talk about parts interchangeability between it and other versions. Then we'll cover some diesel engine diagnostics for symptoms like hard starts and low power complaints. And we'll finish up by going over some important service tips. You might already know that diesel-powered truck owners can be a demanding bunch. So that's why you need a combination of good skills and up-to-date information to make sure they're satisfied with their service experience. Dodge and Cummins have been steadily enhancing the performance of the diesel engines that go into Ram trucks. From the previous 12-valve versions, the first 24-valve model in mid-model year 1998, to the diesels currently being built. As a service technician, you may see any of these engines in your service bay from time to time, so it's important you know which configuration you're dealing with. The differences between 24-valve models lie mainly in the engine's horsepower rating and in the calibration for the CM551 engine control module, or ECM, which vary depending on things like the type of transmission the vehicle is equipped with. Determining which is which isn't difficult. As far as 24-valve turbo diesel engines go, there were two types available on Ram pickups during model years 1998.5 through 2000. A 215 horsepower version came with vehicles having a 47RE automatic transmission. The 215 went out of production at the close of model year 2000, which ended in December 1999. A 235 horsepower Cummins diesel was mated to both the NV 4500 5-speed and NV 5600 6-speed manual transmissions during those model years. So basically, if you've got a 1998.5 through 2000 Ram with a diesel engine, it will have 215 horsepower with an automatic or 235 horses with a manual transmission. For the 2001 model year, however, things are a little different. The 235 horsepower version comes with an automatic or 5-speed manual transmission, while a 245 horse high output engine is found only with a 6-speed manual transmission. The 2001 HO started production around January 2000. The 245 horse HO engine has some changes to its fuel system and other items, as well as a different ECM calibration. Oh, and by the way, you should know that for the different 24-valve diesels in the field today, there are currently about 18 different calibrations for the CM551 ECM, depending on the model year and configuration, such as federal or California emissions. And that illustrates the importance of knowing which type of engine you've got. Don't confuse the CM551 ECM, which controls the fuel system components and other engine functions on 24-valve diesel engines, with the JTEC PCM, which handles engine functions on Jeep and truck gasoline engines, but not on diesel applications. Now let's look at some methods of determining the diesel engine type, which is usually referred to by its horsepower rating. Proper identification is important for parts procurement, since many components are not interchangeable between types. It's also an important factor in some service procedures, and the Star Center will always ask for the engine identification when you contact them for assistance. There are a few different ways of determining the model year and engine type, starting with the vehicle identification number. You might already know that the VIN contains model year and engine codes, which are explained in service information sources. Specifically, the 10th position in the VIN indicates the model year of the vehicle. On vehicles with a 24-valve engine, this could be a W for 1998, an X for 1999, or a Y for 2000. Model year 2001 is indicated by a 1. Notice the change from a letter to a number in the 10th position for 2001. This change will take place across all vehicle lines, by the way. The 8th position is coded for the engine type. A 6 in this position indicates a 5.9-liter 24-valve turbo diesel. Now, considering the information you saw earlier, a 6 in the 8th position could mean the engine has either 215 or 235 horsepower, depending on the model year and transmission type. If the 8th VIN digit is a 7, the engine is the HO version with 245 horsepower, which is only available on the 2001 model with a 6-speed manual transmission. So, a 6 in the 8th VIN digit means either a 215 or 235 horsepower engine, and a 7 can only mean the 245 horse HO motor. Sound a little confusing? Well, there's an easier way to tell the horsepower rating of a diesel engine without worrying about the model year. The engine data plate that's affixed to the left side of the gear housing on all Cummins diesel engines is probably the best way to determine the horsepower rating. It spells out the horsepower rating, the engine serial number, and other important information without using codes. If need be, you can use the engine serial number alone to obtain information about the engine. The serial number is stamped into the right side of the block above the oil cooler cavity. You should always have this information ready when calling the Star Center. As I said earlier, correctly identifying the engine you're working with is important for parts and service. And now you know right where to look. The diesel power in Ram trucks has been increased again from model year 2001. And the most powerful engine yet is the high output, or HO, 24-valve turbo diesel. The HO diesel is only available on 2001 model year trucks with an NV 5600 6-speed manual transmission. At 2,700 RPM, the HO develops 245 horsepower compared to 235 horsepower on the previous year's model, and 505 pound-feet of torque versus 460 on the 2000 model. The compression ratio has been increased to 17:1, up from 16.3:1. The higher compression ratio is one of the elements that give the HO its greater horsepower and torque specs. Let's take a look at the features of this brute, starting at the bottom end. Remember that many parts of the HO are not interchangeable with other versions of the turbo diesel. On the crankshaft, the tone wheel for the crank position sensor is gone because the sensor has been deleted. The 2001 crankshaft is not interchangeable